The very appropriately named Trey Burke leads the Michigan Wolverines over number 1 seed Kansas and into the Elite Eight, where they will face off against Florida. Welcome into the Sporting News Studios. I'm Tom Vandervoort as we break down each and every game of this year's NCAA tournament. Thanks to UPS and the UPS Team Performance Index, and it was quite a win by Michigan. Joining me now on the phone, our college basketball writer Mike DeCourcy. So how do you see this matchup, Mike? I mean, big win by Michigan, obviously. Looked like they were destined to lose that game. And then Florida ends the Cinderella run of Florida Gulf Coast and kind of shows how many weapons they really have, both on offense and on defense. So how do you see this game?
Well, there are a couple of elements of it. It starts with Trey Burke, obviously. First-team All-America, deservedly so. One of the best players in the country. We were very close to picking him as National Player of the Year. He's been spectacular, and even in a game tonight where he really struggled for the first half, he still comes out and puts on big numbers in the second half. So he's one of those guys that you just can't count out of a game. He was really special down the stretch for Michigan, and Florida's going to have to find a way to guard that. They've got a number of options. Mike Rosario has done a lot of great defense. Scotty Wilbekin is a terrific defender. Kenny Boynton has been a lockdown defender at times during his college career. So I think Trey Burke's going to see a lot of bodies on Sunday. I think he's going to see a rotation of guy after guy after guy. They may eventually settle into one if one does a particularly great job in that matchup, but I think he's going to see a lot of bodies, and they're going to try to wear him down in that game. He'll also see some full-court pressure as well, although I don't think a ton based on the way Michigan tore apart VCU's. I don't think Florida will want to do that too often. I think Florida also wants to take advantage of the fact that they're significantly more powerful, not at the center spot. Patrick Young's more powerful than most, but Mitch McGary can hold his own there. But Eric Murphy at the 4 spot, 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", about 230, 235. Glenn Robinson is a terrific freshman, but he doesn't have that kind of size. He's been playing very well in this tournament, but that's a matchup that favors Florida, so it doesn't make sense to necessarily play an open court game with Michigan and give the floor some space. You want to crowd it. You want to use your defense. You want to make it hard for Michigan to move. I think all those things you sort of favor the idea of playing a half-court game for Florida. For Michigan, I think the most important thing is that they get other guys involved in addition to Burke. They have struggled a lot of times when they just sort of become spectators to Burke. I think that Trey has to make sure that he gets the other guys involved. It's not always a problem. I mean, he gets a lot of assists, but every now and then when they get into trouble, they become spectators. That can't happen on Sunday. This is too big a game. Every player has to be involved.
Now, as I look down at my UPS Team Performance Index numbers, one thing that jumps out at me, both teams very highly rated on offensive efficiency. Michigan, not so much on the defensive side. Florida's strong on defense. Is there something specific Michigan's going to have to do to handle Florida when the Gators have the basketball?
Well, I think the first thing they have to do is make sure that they contain the basketball. They did not do that well at all against Kansas. There was a reason Kansas put up as many points as they did. Michigan had to rally hard at the end to get back into the game because Michigan did not defend very well. And this is a different kind of offensive team that they're facing. Very perimeter-oriented. You can convince Florida to shoot itself out of the game if you do it right, but only if you do it right. You have to stay in every play with them. If you do that, you can get them to take bad shots. But if you're getting yourself screened out, if you're not paying attention to where the ball is, you can also give them a lot of openings. And if they start to get hot, they get very confident. They've got 3 guys that will shoot the basketball without any encouragement. Kenny Boynton has been taking tough shots his entire career. Mike Rosario was a big scorer at Rutgers before he became a little bit less active here. And Scotty Wilbekin believes in his shot as well. So if you allow them open shots, not contested shots, they have a chance to really get going and bury you. Michigan has to be sounder on the perimeter, not get picked off on screens, not get picked off on dribble handoffs. If they can do that, like I said, you can convince Florida to take bad shots. Kentucky, which certainly is a long way from the Elite Eight, Kentucky was able to convince Florida to take bad shots in their late in their late February, or excuse me, their early March game that they played at Rupp Arena. So I think Michigan has to be really alert and aware. That's Stauskas, that's Tim Hardaway, and that's especially Trey Burke, who really has to be alert on Will Beacon, a much more physical and powerful player.
All right. Well, do you have a feeling about which way this one goes, Mike?
You know, I thought Florida coming into the weekend, and I still believe that. I think Michigan, the defensive deficiencies really showed up in the Kansas game. They were fortunate to continue on. They've got another shot to shore it up, but they just haven't made a ton of progress in that area against the best teams. They're going to have to try to outscore Florida. Florida's too good defensively for me to feel comfortable with the idea of Michigan doing that. So I think Florida pulls it out. But I tell you what, the thing to remember, Florida in a close game is a car wreck. They've lost 6 games this year. They've lost every close game they've played. This was another game tonight against Florida Gulf Coast where they won by double digits. When it's closer than that, Florida's in trouble. So if Michigan can hang around, I mean, we've seen Michigan in a close game now. You saw what happened tonight. Trey Burke made 3 after 3 after 3 and got it done. So that's what Michigan has to – that's another thing that Michigan can hold on to, is trying to be there at the end and taking advantage of Florida's troubles.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly does help to have that special player. Listen, Mike, thanks so much for your time. And I guess next time we'll be talking about the Final Four matchups.
I can't wait.